Hey y'all, it's been a while. Before anything, I want to come on here and thank every single one of you that has helped and supported me throughout this journey. That being said, this is my last video on Jaxson and the Team Dark Gaming situation. When it comes to this entire situation, I have not regretted posting my video and speaking about my situation once. However, I realized that there's no real point in me continuing to be active in it, as I have seen all I have needed to see. I will say, I apologize for my absence, but my first year of college was absolutely throwing me. Still passed with all A's and B's though. Don't ask me about calculus. Yet, during my absence, a lot has transpired. One of the things being Jaxson's live stream. A couple days after I dropped my video, Jaxson went live to address the allegations made against him in a live stream called TSG Is This the End? Also, one thing before I get into everything, it has come to my attention that Team Sonic Gaming has rebranded to Team Dark Gaming. For whatever reason they decided to rebrand, my titles and maybe even my thumbnails will reflect this change, as well as me addressing the change in the description of my videos. That being said, going back to the live stream, that live stream was about 3 hours. However, in that 3-hour live stream, he spoke about my situation, the situation at hand, mind you, for about 5 to 6 minutes. And during him speaking about my situation, he left out about 95% of what I spoke about, and then completely half-assed and twisted the other 5% of the situation that he did decide to speak about. He mentioned the fact that he did make the chocolate ass joke. However, that was the only thing he admitted to. Although he did speak about the fact that he did ask me about where I was during the time his grandmother passed away, he did not address the fact that he was guilt-tripping me in that same conversation, in which he used the fact that both his friend and his grandmother passed away to emotionally manipulate me. Despite what some may say, I'm very sure he knew what he was doing, because he was a grown adult and multiple other people that have been around him all the way back from 2016 have mentioned that he's done similar things in the past. However, on this specific topic, when Jaxson addressed me in his video, he made a claim that I was claiming that he groomed me through manipulation alone. That is not what I said. In my video and document, in that specific group of screenshots, I brought up the definition of grooming, read out that screenshot, and then said, the one that I mainly want to focus on under key characteristics is manipulation. That is exactly what Jaxson was doing in those messages. Never once did I say that Jaxson manipulated me, so he must have groomed me, because that wouldn't have been true. If you continued watching my video, you'd see that I brought up the other sets of screenshots, the ones that you conveniently failed to mention, and I said that those on top of the manipulation makes your behavior towards me fall under the category of grooming, because it does. And for those of you who are getting upset with me for using a quote-unquote AI definition, I used the Google AI overview, the service that pulls from multiple different sources, some examples being the NSPCC, the National Office of Child Safety, Bravehearts, National Children's Alliance, Presidium, and more, all of which being child safety websites, some of which being government-owned. The AI overview simply condenses that information and puts it in an easily readable format, which I decided to use because I deemed that it'd be easier than showing screenshots from every single source. Despite the fact that it's an AI overview, all of the sources the overview pulled from were reputable sources. Jaxson's overall explanation of the situation in his livestream was piss poor, and his sorry excuse of an apology was just insult to injury. And the fact that he proceeded to talk about other random stuff for hours after that, including Anthony, who was not even close to a relevant topic in this entire situation, was the final nail in the coffin. I genuinely believe that him going over the other random / unasked for stuff in that video was an attempt to brush my situation under the rug after giving an overall crappy explanation of the whole thing. And for those of you that I've interacted with that have accepted that apology without further questions, even after you've watched my video on the topic, I truly worry for your ability to comprehend one's actions and intentions behind them, especially considering that this one is just blatantly in your face. Genuinely looking at some of the comments under some people's videos genuinely concerned me about y'all's naive attitudes on the internet. However, there was one comment in particular addressed to me that really opened my eyes to how the people in this community really are and helped me realize that there's no real point in trying to speak to these people any further. It was the reply I got from Team Sonic Union. Before I get into the whole thing, I'll give you the backstory. Due to my extensive conversation and research into the community, I began to get Team Dark Gaming themed TikToks on my For You page. On one video, the creator of which I recently learned was someone affiliated with Team Sonic Union, I saw that there were lies being spread against my name, to which I decided to defend myself, because one thing I couldn't stand was people getting facts wrong. However, as I defended myself, I got a reply from the Team Sonic Union TikTok page asking if they could have a conversation with me, to which I naively accepted. I shot them a DM letting them know that they can get in touch with me on Discord, to which they agreed, and shortly after I got a DM from them. I'm not going to go into the full conversation, as if I were to, this video would be hours long. However, I will let you all know that on my 6 years of being on Discord, I have never had a conversation with such an insufferable person on this platform. Every time I would have a conversation with them, we would literally send paragraphs that would exceed the Discord character limit back to back. And keep in mind, we both had Nitro. So that was 3.5 to 4K characters almost every message. In each paragraph, it consisted of them defending Jaxson by saying things from, "He didn't know he was gaslighting you because he thought you were wrong," to, "Jaxson didn't grow up in the best household. He didn't fully know right from wrong," to, "He's grown as a person," to, "Due to his autism and anxiety, he struggles to say things the way he wants to," "Jax didn't know you saw him as an authority figure," and to, and I quote, "It can't be used as predatory either, because to our knowledge, he was not trying to quote unquote get with you or make you do actual serious sexual acts with him nor anyone else." This is few of the many excuses this person used to attempt to discredit me and put Jaxson into a better light, despite the fact that they claimed to be a quote unquote unbiased party. Literally anyone could see clearly that you were leaning towards a specific side. Another thing this person did was that they claimed that they worked with / were friends with people that were lawyers, officers, therapists, and investigators. However, considering how this person messaged me and the fact that they were getting key details in the situation very wrong and half the time didn't even seem to know what they were talking about, I have very high doubts that any of that claim were true, as if it were, they would almost have definitely been advised to not take it upon themselves to try to contact me, a minor. That being said, if my suspicions are correct and they did lie about that, which I'm going to assume so, as I saw no proof of the matter other than screenshots for the Metropolitan Police website, which is publicly accessible information, then that in and of itself is predatory, as you tried to make it seem like you were in close contact with people that had a high status to attempt to get me to doubt my claims. And speaking of which, this person tried multiple times to get me to switch my story from me saying he groomed me to me saying he took advantage of me. That, again, is an incredibly predatory action, as you were trying to get me, a minor, to second guess myself and change my story to something that would not only quote unquote look nicer in his regard, but also make it seem like I don't know what I'm talking about to ruin my credibility. Truly, me talking to this person was one of the worst experiences I've had on this platform. So much so that it finally led me to come out about this whole entire situation to my mother, in which we had a very deep conversation, which inevitably led me to blocking this person and deciding that I would no longer be as active in this situation anymore. Personally, I consider myself to have a very high tolerance for shenanigans and being able to hold my own pretty well. So for me to genuinely feel exhausted just by looking at this person's profile and for me to be dreading my next conversation with them, it's honestly baffling for someone to push me to that point. And frankly, I didn't deserve to subject myself to that. So I didn't, which is exactly why I decided to cut it off then and there. That being said, where do we go from here? As I've said before, this is my last video on the Team Dark Gaming situation. Everyone's decision on the situation has pretty much been set in stone at this point, and it's clear that no amount of evidence or reasoning will change anyone's mind. The reality is that Jaxson has been in countless controversies in his almost 2 years of running this channel, each one having their own victims and their own sets of proof backing themselves up. And from what I've seen, every time Jaxson makes a mediocre, bare-bones apology and explanation in the hopes that people will just let it go so he can sweep it under the rug. And he continues to do this because his fan base lets him. Every time a situation arises when he's the main issue, his fan base flocks to his comfort to support him, and while making the victim in the situation look like the bad guy. Because of this, Jaxson is never made to take accountability, continuing to allow him to get away with anything. Until his fan base makes him take genuine accountability for his actions, he'll never change how he is. So it's recently come to my attention that Jaxson and TSU have allegedly made a 120-page document about me and are only showing it to people in the TSU server and VCs so the document doesn't quote-unquote get into the wrong hands. But if this document is used to try and defend Jaxson, then why wouldn't it be made accessible to anyone and everyone? And if it's a worry about minors getting their hands on the document, first of all, who cares? Second of all, why not just make it so specific people can access it? There are very safe ways to do that, and a burner Google account is free. Form your own opinions about this. However, to me, it seems like they're trying to hide what they're saying about other people behind their backs to not get called out for any potential lies they're spreading. This is further built upon by the fact that someone asked if they would give me access to the document, considering the document is about me. And they said, no, I quote unquote lost the privilege to be able to see the document, even though it's completely about me, even though these grown adults are making a 120-page document about a minor. I'm not allowed to see it. Okay. Not to mention the fact that TSU and TDG have collaborated multiple times in the past and still to this day. So to suggest the idea that they formed an unbiased opinion on a person they're actively working with and are benefiting from would be an insult to all of our intelligence. But at the end of the day, if they're just spreading it in their already delusional ass echo chamber, then you know what? Have at it. But hey, at the end of the day, not my community, not my problem. If you all wish to continue to stick by the side of a blatantly problematic person, feel free to do so. Especially when it comes down to the grown, genuinely pushing 30 adults that are just willfully ignorant when it comes down to this. I fear there's no way to explain and inform you guys on the truth. All I'll say is that when Jaxson inevitably does something to mess you guys over, which based on his repeated behavior, it's more than likely to happen, please don't act surprised, as multiple people tried warning you all. Now that I got that off my chest, I want to talk about the future, mainly the future regarding my channel. Amidst all the support I was getting for my video, a multitude of you guys let me know that you all really liked my editing and video style. That being said, I think I might try to start my own YouTube journey. Frankly, I've always sort of enjoyed editing and the idea of making videos with my friends and sharing them with you all sounds like a fun idea. That being said, it most likely won't be anything consistent or something put to a schedule, more so just something fun I'll do every once in a while when I have time. In fact, I actually have a video in the works right now.
Okay, you can leave the doors open. You can leave them open. I'm gonna stand out here if y'all don't mind.
Oh my god, I can't see nothing.
You ain't gonna do nothing.
Why are you overly playing in the ghost face?
Watch when we try to leave, it's gonna close the door on us again. Okay, get the closet, Leave the door open!
Why did y'all not leave the door?
Kid.
Who closed it? He's
Why
dead
did y'all
now!
close it?
Kid.
Well, grab the camera and take a picture of my dead body for extra money.
Kid, you're fired. So, yeah, if you're into this type of style, feel free to stick around and watch. The more we grow, the more I'll do. And eventually I'll get into streaming and even make a Discord server. So yeah, that's my plan for the future. This will hopefully be my very last video regarding Jaxson and Team Dark Gaming in general. As frankly, I don't want to waste any more of my time or energy on this community. 2020 was my first ever experience with Discord, and frankly, it's probably the craziest and I'd say the worst intro to an app and community I've ever had. However, I'm still here. And from now on, I'm gonna make my experiences on Discord and the internet in general enjoyable ones. And frankly, I don't care much about bringing this man into my adult life when he's already been in it for the last 6. Yeah, no thank you. Overall, I want to thank every single one of you guys that have supported me in my journey up to this point and have stuck by my side throughout the entire thing. Truly, it means a lot to me, and I hope to see you all stick around for my YouTube journey as well. You're all awesome, and I hope you all have a good rest of your day.